It's Sunday night, and you know what that means. Ringside Heat is on the air here on Newstalk Sauga 960 AM, and of course on YouTube Monday nights. I am your guest host, Jose Tabuada. You can find me on social media at Tabuada93. You can follow the show at Ringside_Heat, and of course support us on Patreon. And all that we do, patreon.com/Ringside Heat. No underscore there. Which we don't know what we could have done from there, but hey, that's just the way that handles work. Lex is out of town, folks. Lex is off doing a gig with Chico. I believe they're at a camp together or something like that. I don't know, which means that tonight or for this week's episode, you get to hear the better voice. You get to see the prettier face. You get to see Jose freaking Tabuada. It's a two-man crew. I love what I just said, by the way. What a promo, Jose. What a promo. It is a two-man wrecking crew, and I am joined by the man who is not only my great friend, who hasn't been here in a little while. He's been busy. He hasn't seen the new overlay that we have now on Ringside Heat, and he also has an album out called Outlier, available wherever you get your music, and including 180-gram vinyl. Digitally available, merch available at johndawsonmusic.com, I believe, if I got that right.
You can go for music. You go to musicforwalkingrecords.com. It's all there.
You can find him at John Dawson Music, Mr. John Dawson. John, thank you for correcting me. I should have probably established that with you before the show started, but you know what? That's okay. How are you, buddy? It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. There's a lot to remember, Jose. Don't worry about forgetting that stuff. No, it's... anybody who's listened to us for any time knows I'm also an educator, and it's the startup of the year. It's a busy time for us. So my first couple of weekends were absolutely shutting down and going to sleep. So that's
and I mean, the entire Dawson family is in school mode, which is great. So I mean, like, it's not even just John himself. It is literally everybody in the household rushing to go to work, to go to school, in a school, which is insane. So I cannot blame you, John. But I will say, if there had to be a week for you to come back and talk the beautiful world of wrestling, it's when your boy is the host instead of Lex. So thank you for that.
Yeah, maybe that's conspiracy. I don't know. Maybe we're just working on another level here.
It is a conspiracy that I want to welcome into the wrestling community, and a conspiracy I will stand by. Well, it is just the two of us, but we do have a very, very fun show for you here in the next hour. We got a couple of topics that we want to discuss. We were thinking about it because it was a slow news week in the world of wrestling, and nothing overly wild. But we did find our topics. And so our first topic to open up our discussion here today, it's of course dealing with what's been going on with, once again, the bloodline this past Friday night on SmackDown. Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, who are teaming up to take on Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu at Bad Blood in Atlanta, met up at the Georgia Tech football stadium in Atlanta, because that is where Roman Reigns, or known at the time as Joe Anoa'i, played football. And the NCAA, he met up with Cody to basically just hash it out and talk it out. I don't know why this wasn't in front of the crowd, because I think it would have been highly entertaining. But they went the cinematic route once again. I feel like it's been maybe a little bit of a little while since we saw a cinematic approach to a promo or any of the sort. But it worked off great. The music, the suspense, the great storytelling of the literally bitter rivalry that's lasted 2 years now, and looks like there's no end in sight. Cody just basically wants to secure that Roman has his back in the tag match at Bad Blood, and vice versa. And then, of course, Roman saying that he wants his title back. Of course, who doesn't want to get the championship that they lost? So here we are now, just a couple days removed from seeing that promo, and look, the cinematic thing is great, but then I kind of shift my attention to Kevin Owens, because Kevin Owens looked extremely frustrated by it. I have to say, and I've been saying this, I said this last week on Ringside Heat, that it doesn't feel like kayfabe when Cody says, I'm done with the bloodline, and Kevin Owens' frustration doesn't feel like kayfabe. John, are you like, is this still going? Like, they're still bringing in these connections, which is insane. So where do you go from there? Like, what is your point to open up your side of the conversation?
Well, I actually don't think the cinematic came off that well. I think it was done nicely. It was fine. but I didn't really understand the point. You know, like when you're talking about, especially, you know, now they're on USA, right? They're gone from Fox. You want audience pop. You
Oh,
want to
absolutely.
feel like a crowd is invested. This is season premiere last week. We're coming into a new season. It felt odd to me, and there was a whole lot of, you know, the lighting reminded me a little bit of the old sort of Lucha Underground stuff, you know, really kind of, you know, it was very nicely, like, again, it was shot well and all that stuff, but, you know, you got a lot of close-ups and jaw muscle flexing and a lot of, you know, whatever they were doing there, and I just thought it was unnecessary. I don't know why you couldn't have done that in front of a live audience and have gotten a beat on where is the crowd going. And it sort of ties into this KO Cody thing, because obviously you see the end of SmackDown, you see KO has this chair in his hands. I thought for sure, even as the little bug went up, or they've changed it now. It's not even a bug. It was a bug, and then it was
The credits, right?
yeah, the credits. I was like, okay, that's new. Like it looked like faulty towers or something. Like it was just weird. But okay. I thought for sure as they faded the black, what I actually would have loved as they cut, if KO smacked him with a chair.
That would have been, I mean, you do get that cliffhanger pop, and that cliffhanger for all of us.
Like, to me, that would have been beautiful. Like, you're trying to create television here. And, you know, and I, you know, when I think of, you think about one of Vince Russo's big gripes over the years with the way WWE does things is, are you trying to create television? When you're in that media, okay, create the cinematics, create the lighting. But for those two, I didn't really, I don't know, man, that left me a little cold. It was a nice conversation. I loved you know, there were some beautifully delivered lines like, you know, what do you want? What do you want? I want to know you have my back so that I can have yours. Lovely stuff. I just did not understand why that was not done in front of a live audience.
Well, I think the reason why it wasn't done in front of the live audience is because, and this is kind of credit to WWE for booking Atlanta as a destination for Bad Blood, because yes, Atlanta has such deep roots for both of these guys. Again, Joe NOI playing football there at Georgia Tech before his football career failed, and then Cody, of course, and the whole Rhodes dynasty growing up in Atlanta, and Cody referencing, like, you know, where like, you know, the arena where the Rhodes have battled, have bled, et cetera, et cetera. I found it unique in the sense that I guess I never realized how deep this city is for them. And well, obviously for one, it's his home, but for the other, again, given that, you know, he spent his college years there, there's such rich history for both of them in that city that they used, I think, to their advantage, right? And I think Roman picking Georgia Tech, given that, again, that's where he played football, it's kind of like, it was like his way of, like, kind of still telling everybody, hey, I have a kingdom somewhere, I have a home, I have a place where I am still over the top dominant, because I don't have that in the ring right now because the bloodline took all my stuff away. Cody is the WWE champion. I need to be in a place where I feel like I am still on top of the world. And what better place than the field that I was making plays on? I was just thinking of that. I'm like, huh. Okay.
But let me play devil's advocate in the suspension of disbelief piece, where it's like, so if we were to cycle that back through the storyline, hey Cody, let's meet in the middle of an empty football field. I want to talk to you about what you want. Like, it would have made more sense for that conversation. Like, how the hell did that happen? Like, right? Hey man, like let's go talk in the middle of an empty stadium. We got to book it. Got to make sure, like, the amount of logistics to get those two guys standing in an empty football stadium.
And we're just, no fans are around curious.
No fans, nothing's happening. It just happens to be the two biggest guys in wrestling all the lights on, just happen to walk out and have a conversation. It just
Hey, isn't the game on Saturday? Yeah, Billy. Well, why are the
I'm just
lights on?
early.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just early. We're just gonna tailgate. Like, it just made no sense to me.
Cody, yes. Meet me in Atlanta, sir.
Dude,
Just hang up the
listen,
phone.
Cody, do you happen to be anywhere near this giant empty football stadium with all the lights on? Because I would like to talk to you and flex my jaw a few times. Yeah, man, sure, let's do it.
It's funny because like a friend of mine in one of my group chats, he was saying in quotations, imagining he's Cody. Couldn't you just have done this at a Starbucks by the airport? Why do I have to come all the way to a football?
Why did you have to book a state? Like, you cannot tell me for a second.
Why did you need 7 cars to escort you to the
7 cars? Like, this could have been done over a coffee.
Fair points. I think those are all fair, but yes, I do agree with you that I would have rather had that in person because the fans also play such a role in promos. Like I mean I think about like last week.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think about last week when Roman spoke with Nick Aldis and the way that the crowd reeled him in and just grabbing the microphone and just talking, and that they pop, right? Like the crowd enhances your promo. They enhance what you're trying to deliver. And those two facing off, basically I would say like the first proper face up since WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia, where that would have
conversation.
Yeah, sure, exactly. That would have fucked everybody hook, line, and sinker. And
that to me should have been at the end.
Yeah.
In front of the crowd. I don't understand that decision. That is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen from WWE.
Yeah, and the main event felt. I mean, and Cody ended up being there anyway. Which, by the way, just to like, I guess talk about the suspension of disbelief. SmackDown was in Sacramento.
SmackDown was in Sacramento. There's that.
So I mean, yeah, obviously, the kayfabe is that okay, they met up a couple weeks before SmackDown, but because the logic of Cody meeting up with Roman right then and there, and then suddenly takes a 5-hour flight within a half hour to get to the
what story are you telling here? Like, he was just in Georgia talking to Roman in an empty football field with all the lights on and no one else in there, but he's able to hit some, Elon Musk, go up in the SpaceX thing to get back to, you know what I mean? Like, none of this makes sense to me.
I get that perspective.
And look, I sorry, the caveat is, I realize when I say none of this makes sense and we're talking about professional wrestling, how ridiculous that sounds.
We are fans, yeah.
But we are fans. But I just think it was a wasted opportunity. Full stop.
I agree.
And this to tie into this KO thing, I gotta be honest. If he's not gonna take the title off Cody, who cares?
I agree, and
because he's not.
Well,
is there any scenario where he actually takes the title off Cody?
Well, why don't we discuss that after the break? Because I think there's a whole lot of conversation to dig into there. Because I think the point I wanted to make in tying Kevin Owens is, why are we still doing this? So for now, Ringside Heat here on News Talk Sauga 960 AM. But when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation and talk about Kevin Owens' involvement with the Bloodline. And by the way, folks, this is Where You Belong, John Dawson's latest single from the album Outlier, to take us into the break.
Tell me I'm wrong, but if we just walk away, we'll be giving in. Tell me I'm wrong, but if we just walk away.
And welcome back to Ringside Heat here on News Talk Sauga 960 AM, and of course on YouTube if you're watching us in video form. I am your guest host, Jose Tabuada, in replacement of Lex Tan for this week's episode, joined by Mr. John Dawson. Once again, that was Where You Belong that took us into the break. came back from the break, John Dawson's latest new single from the album Outlier, which is available wherever you get your music. And of course, don't forget to follow us on Ringside, on all our social medias at Ringside_Heat, and support us on Patreon. Before we had to go to break, we were talking about the the Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns cinematic story at Georgia Tech, the Georgia Tech football stadium in Atlanta. And so we wanted to eventually connect this to the Kevin Owens situation after the way that SmackDown ended, in which it looked like Kevin Owens was about to pull a Seth Rollins and hit him with the chair. So what we were saying before the break is, where does this go? And what is this, once again, looks like conflicting thing with Cody? And I want to start off by saying, I don't know. And it is unfortunate, and this is not Cody's fault, by the way. It's getting to the point where this is going to fuel Cody's haters into saying that this championship is even duller than it already is, quote unquote. It's not, by the way, fun fact. But but the fact that we're still lingering to the bloodline to enhance Cody, to enhance Kevin Owens, and obviously Kevin Owens is still probably partnered up with Randy Orton, it's still gonna tie into them, and and now that kind of makes me worried about War Games. But again, that's a conversation for another time. It's when is the end? Why do we keep needing to use the bloodline as the crutch, when in reality it should be, in my opinion, it should probably be just Solo and Roman. Let them bicker off, and then eventually it takes us to Survivor Series of Vancouver. John.
Okay. I'm thinking this through. I think I have an angle here.
All right.
It's actually not about Kevin Owens. I think, if I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, what's more interesting potentially, is that Cody looks like he's constantly surrounded by enemies. Cody needs to look. I feel like there's a really tenuous balance with Cody. People love him when he's punching up.
Okay.
Right? So I almost feel like it's a bit of a red herring, a bit of a non sequitur what they're doing with KO. It's not necessarily about completing anything with KO. It's just about keeping Cody on unstable ground to make him feel like he's on his own. He will have fragile alliances. He will have the odd friend, but this man has no friends. He simply doesn't. He is alone.
You think you're saying that he's been alone the entire time?
I think he's been alone the entire time.
Wow.
I think it's been alliances of convenience, alliances of advantage that Cody really, and now follow this line of logic, that Cody realizes nobody ever really cared about him. Well, then he washes the hair out, and then he just...
Oh no, we're desperate for the heel turn, aren't we? We're hoping for the heel turn.
I'm not hoping. No. I'm not hoping. I'm just saying you're laying narrative groundwork here.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, he's the babyface champion who's constantly got to watch his back because nobody really has his back, right? Which makes those occasional run-ins and makes the Roman moments so sweet. But we all know nobody's really his friend. We know Randy can RKO him at any second. KO can hit him with a chair. He has no friends. But we need Cody to be a champion in a fight. And the problem is, if he's got a bunch of buddies and they're the Avengers and the Justice League, they're running roughshod over, as you call them, the team Bloodline, which is hilarious. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think
I do.
I think it's actually a good thing to keep Cody on his back heels all the time. Otherwise, what's the point?
My worry is maybe this is just a victim of just who's available on the roster on SmackDown. But I do like the idea. Now
you're looking for how the sausage is cooked. I mean, don't worry about that piece. Yeah, like
But
I think
that's my mindset when it comes to this. I feel like it's hard for me to get out of that mindset because of because of just like the continuous repetitive thing. But mind you, and this is where we've benefited from like stories where we had these questions and going, how many times have we said this in the last few years on Ringside Heat about many different storylines? Where is this going? What's the point of this? And all of a sudden, it leads to something insane. Like when Roman retained at WrestleMania 39, all of us were asking, well, where does this lead to in a year? What do we do now? Right. And even in the middle of all that, with this, and like in the middle of all the bloodline imploded and things were still moving smoothly, and then eventually worked out and led to where it led to. So I'm not opposed to that if Cody is somehow seen as a loner, and then if like it's just a reverse effect and everything's kind of crumbling under him because they want the championship or something, then by all means, sure. And then that'll be an interesting ride to WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas in 2025.
Because then who knows who- yeah, but you got an opportunity to build a lot of heat and build up a lot of guys. You don't want to see KO and Randy Orton as his, Hawkeye and Ant-Man. You know what I mean? Like he's
no, I
Captain
get
America,
that.
right? Like these guys got to have their whole thing going. And I personally liked it. And again, I just was thinking of this just now, but I really do like the idea because Cody's our proxy. Cody's the guy that we're going to watch and go, he's the guy we're invested in. And this guy he's like Rick Grimes in Walking Dead. Like, Rick had Daryl Dixon, he had a few guys, but he never knew when somebody was going to try and kill him. I think there's something to that from a narrative device that works for me to keep Cody fresh. Because I'll be honest, if they're just feeding Cody stuff and limp storylines and he's winning, no matter what he does in the ring, how many times
Nobody's going to care.
Off the cage, no one's going to care.
And I think
he's got to be under threat.
I think that's been the general consensus, again, mainly from fans who already want to see Cody lose the title. That's been a consensus at WrestleMania, and I can't blame the thought. But you're not wrong. So let me ask you this then, with that mindset then, because we have been saying here on Ringside Heat for the last since probably since WrestleMania, we've been saying like eventually we're gonna have to get to Survivor Series at some point. Survivor Series is around the corner. It's not that it's closer than we think. It's one of those like objects appear closer than they appear. Objects are closer than they appear in the side mirror. I'm rambling on in nonsense here.
No.
So what's your War Games matchup then? Because for me, I still do Timu Bloodline, right? You have those four, right? You have Jacob, Tama, Sauga, and Solo.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then I was originally saying Roman, Jay, Jimmy, and then I guess possibly Cody. And I know I've said that on the show. I can't remember what episode, but I know I've said it on the show. Cody is the last guy because he's still involved with it in some shape or form. But right now, with how it's being shaped, Jay has his situation with the Intercontinental title on Raw. Kevin Owens is still bugged about the whole bloodline thing. Dude, does that mean that we don't get a bloodline versus bloodline then?
No, I don't think so at all. I think that Mr. Terramana out there is going to probably have a lot to say about the bloodline continuing. He's on the board. I don't think the bloodline's going anywhere. I think this KO thing I actually think it's really bad for KO. I like him creating drama with Cody to keep Cody fresh and keep him looking, like I said, a little on defensive. But it is beyond, it's the very definition of redundant to have him going after
That's
Cody.
my point. That's been my point.
It's stupid. It just makes no sense to me. You get nothing from it. KO can do many wonderful things in many other places. Get him out of there. I don't think this is going to be something that will continue. I think it was simply did you look, we're talking about it. It was a TV moment.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if anything comes of this.
I think we get Cody, Roman, Kevin Owens, and Orton against the Temu bloodline. And I don't like saying that. So a friend of mine brought it up. I looked at that statement, and then I'm seeing what happened tonight on SmackDown. And I think unintentionally, maybe without a lot of us realizing it, it was a first seed planted.
Okay, let's follow that through. Let's put Roman in the same place Jay was when he first came to Raw. Cody now vouching for Roman.
It's enticing. I'm not going to say no.
I'm not hating it.
But then what do we do about Jimmy, who's been gone for God knows how.
Yeah, I think we can talk about that whole Rikishi tweet.
We are going to talk about it in our third segment. Yes, folks.
But okay. I think the classic Bloodline story had OG Bloodline versus Temu Bloodline, 100%.
Which should still be that, in my opinion.
Which it should probably still be that, because at some point, Cousin Dewey's coming back, and we're going to see where he lands in all this, because there's no way he's not getting involved in all this.
I still have my prediction of Survivor Series. I've been saying this for a long time. My prediction Survivor Series, if it happens, I want all of you to pay me $100 each.
He's coming back.
That's what I'm calling.
No way he isn't. He bailed in April. He said it'd be a few months. We're right on track. I think a lot of us maybe thought SummerSlam. That came and went.
I never thought SummerSlam. I did think Survivor Series. I did say that. I was saying that because
you're much smarter than everybody else.
Of course.
That's the problem. But okay, so Cousin Dewey's a variable, which makes the Jimmy J Cody thing against Temu Bloodline possible. But what you just positioned, which I'd never thought of, the idea of
I didn't either. Yeah.
But it's a great line, and I think there is some good storytelling there, because like I said, I'm just bringing it online with the way Cody vouched for Jay, and that worked out pretty well. Now, do you know what I mean? Like, if Cody's going to bat for Roman, the tension between Randy and Kid, there's some great story there. Are you kidding me? This is Roman Reigns. This isn't just Jay. This is Roman Reigns. And you're telling us that we got to stand by this guy? I would watch that. There's some good story there.
I'm not saying I wouldn't watch it. I agree. I just feel like we've set up this whole budding bloodline situation that should only be just the bloodline, that having Kevin Owens and Randy Orton there would just, for someone, in my opinion, I think it would really sour that War Games match.
But there's no reason, like, why can't imagine Mania 41 with a bloodline versus bloodline? It doesn't have to be Survivor Series. We all want it to be Survivor Series, but it doesn't have to be.
Not wrong. You're not wrong. That I get that, because you need to build something. You need to have something for WrestleMania for sure, because obviously that would be something there.
Okay, go ahead.
I just think that War Games presents. Maybe it's because it's the whole Survivor trope thing, but I feel like it presents such a unique opportunity for them to really hash it out, and whether it continues from there or not, we'll see. But I just think that with the scenario of Roman and Solo butting, and what War Games is designed to do, which is just beat the living heck out of each other, it makes sense for Roman to get his old buddies, to get Jay, to get Jimmy, and I guess Cody, maybe because Solo wants Cody, and just kind of like remind everybody, hey, this is who used to be dominant. And that's why I'm like, that's why I think Bad Blood is going to be super, super, super crucial, because if Jimmy doesn't get involved, and a lot of people are waiting on Jimmy, and again, we're going to talk about Jimmy in our third segment, because we've seen some things that confuse the heck out of us with Jimmy, and it's going to tie into this conversation. Then what was the point? Because Jimmy still got taken out. He's going to want his revenge. How do you not include Jimmy in this scenario, and Paul Heyman? Not that Paul Heyman will get in the ring and wrestle, but I'm just saying.
You're already setting up, you're teeing up WrestleMania. That's a WrestleMania resolution. That is not a Survivor Series resolution.
I would argue Survivor Series. I would, because of the whole traditional Survivor Series match. But you're not wrong. Because again, WrestleMania provides such a
Bloodline is, pardon the pun, given the new record available on streaming services, but Bloodline has been something of an outlier in storytelling.
Available now, folks, wherever you get your music.
Available now everywhere you get your music. 180 gram vinyl, music for walkingrecords.com. Yes. It's the rules they're not the same with the Bloodline. Bloodline has established its own trajectory because it is now, a 3-year story that they keep 4 year. Okay. So if this is got to be by far, and I would love for anybody to fact check this, I can't think of a single, maybe DX, but no, as a storyline, I can't think of a single storyline.
Nope.
Not a faction, not a thing. I can't think of a single storyline that has been this consistently developed, varied. You know what I mean? It is eventually when the end of this story comes, you could put this thing together into a freaking Netflix series and watch the episodes.
Oh, this is going to be a Netflix documentary. The only group that I would argue potentially, but also I didn't watch him immensely because I don't have access to New Japan, would be the Bullet Club. But
fine, but that's not one single story.
Exactly. That's where I was going to get to, and I am in the minority when I say that I think the Bullet Club is the most overrated faction of all time. But that's a conversation for another episode.
That's okay. I'm probably there with you.
So, you're, and again, that's like I said, we've been asking this throughout the last 2 years, especially. Where do we go with the Bloodline? Where do we go from here? And yet, once again, in front of our eyes, no matter what direction it goes in, whether it's like an all Bloodline War Games or we throw in Kevin Owens and Randy Orton into the mix, it's somehow still, I would say, fresh storyline that keeps on giving. Which, how many, like John said, how many stories like this would have died already by month 5?
How many did?
How many did? Like for example,
countless.
For example, Evolution. Evolution. All right. 2003, it all started. Orton, Batista, Flair, Triple H. Right. It started off with Triple H and Flair. They eventually added the other two. Randy Orton wins his first world championship at SummerSlam 2004. Gets betrayed by Triple H. Then it's a trio. WrestleMania 21, 2005. Or Batista wins a Rumble. Turns on Triple H. Wins the title at WrestleMania 21. That's it. It's over. A year and a half, I would say. Because I'm pretty sure Evolution started late 2003. And then wrapped up early 2005. I'm going to say a year and a half, maybe a full 2 years. Who knows?
It felt long, but yeah, you're probably right.
It felt long, yeah. But again, like that ended quick because what more did you need to go from there? Batista went on to do his own solo career, had a fantastic solo career. Randy Orton obviously did what he did, and Triple H did what he did, right? We're still cooking with the Bloodline. We are still swirling in.
Simply because you have the added dynamic that makes any good story, which is the conflict within that story. The fact that you have this family drama, all of this stuff, it's the gift that keeps on giving as far as the storyline goes. You know what I mean? And you can bring in auxiliary players. You've got the champion. The weird thing about Bloodline is I feel the Bloodline as a thing is in some way, even though we're in Temu Bloodline era, it is overshadowing the championship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it is.
And that's what hurts with Cody as champion.
Absolutely.
And I think maybe that's something I think a lot of people were worried about once Roman lost the title. And
I did not want to see, sorry to cut you off, but I did not want to see Cody. My great hope, and I'm sure my kids can back me up on this. I may have even said it on the show. I was hoping when that story was finished, the great story, we would never see him lock up with another bloodline member for years. There is so much more he could be doing. The problem is the bloodline is the bloodline. I don't know that Timu bloodline is as good. Tama Tonga's promo coming out, when he was coming out on the mic, I'm like, dude, are you okay? Like, are you choking on something? Like,
Yeah, wasn't
it
crazy.
made no sense.
No.
You know, like Jacob's amazing, but I'm just like the other two. I'm like, Solo to me is the biggest flat tire on the car. That guy's a disaster.
It's been that I think that's also more reason why I wanted Timu Bloodline versus Bloodline.
Squash him. Get him out of there.
Cody should not be involved in that. And that's
No,
the
he
whole
should
point of
not.
this segment, to be honest. But here we are. And yet it's a segment. It is a story that keeps on giving with a ton of family drama. And speaking of family drama, boy, did we get some interesting family drama on social media this past week from a certain WWE Hall of Famer. When we come back, we're going to talk about Rikishi's interesting tweet that kind of set the wrestling world in a little bit of a panic. Sauga Night. This is Ringside Heat on Sauga 960 AM. We'll be back.
Tell me I'm wrong, but if we just walk away, we'll be giving in. Tell me I'm wrong, but if we just walk away.
And welcome back to Ringside Heat here on Newstalk Sauga 960 AM. I am your guest host, Dawada, alongside Mr. John Dawson. You can find on social media at John Dawson Music. Once again, that was Where You Belong that you heard on the way coming back from commercial break. John's newest single from the album Outlier. Of course, you can get it wherever you get your music, and he has merch and the 180 gram vinyl, all that jazz. I need to get my vinyl copy at some point, John, and my merch.
I got it for you. I got
Oh
one.
yes. I do need to get that at some point. And of course, follow us on social media at Ringside_Heat and support us on Patreon. If you want to, that'd be really cool. We do have exclusive stuff for you. We've been starting to put up articles up on Patreon. Lex and Chico have been spearheading that, which has been phenomenal. I think Colin has a piece as well that he wants to write up, and we are starting to grind the wheels a little bit and think about some video exclusive content that I will say that by the time that this is airing, I have recorded a couple things here with John that I think I will turn into a vlog and do it as a Patreon exclusive. So you'll have to find that out real soon. And before we continue on,
it's exciting. This thing we're working on could be very exciting.
and before we continue on, folks, again, the Fiend has been like eyeing us down for the last hour here on Ringside Heat's YouTube channel. We have a giveaway on X. Link is in the bio below on the YouTube page if you want to hear how to win a Fiend Ultimate figure for free. All right, let's carry on with the family drama that I said before the commercial break. Rikishi, the loving father of the Usos, Jimmy and Jay, and Solo, sent out a tweet that had people concerned. Very, very concerned. On September 18th, he said, "Dear God, for strength and health to continue, Jimmy Uso, WWE, hashtag Jimmy Uso, hashtag WWE, hashtag Bloodline, hashtag NOI, hashtag Fatu. Stay prayed for my boy, Jonathan Fatu." And then it's like a little 18-second black and white video of Jimmy Uso. So you see that, and it's I mean, even like in the last few months, we've lost some key wrestling figures, of course, and you don't want to go through that again. You never want to see somebody that young go through that again after literally a year since Bray Wyatt. Yes, I'm going to go there because that's where a lot of people's minds went, is that what happened, and is there a reason why we were not seeing it? Got to the point where people are asking, why are we not seeing Jimmy team up with Roman? Why didn't Jimmy come back at SummerSlam for the Bloodline Rules match? Where is he? Is he going to get involved in this in some shape or form? We see that tweet. Then, to make things, I guess, kind of worse, I guess, kind of maybe kind of put like gasoline into the fire. Sean Ross Sapp, or beautiful SRS of Fightful, went on social media, and I have to scroll through the tweet. I did not have it open. I wasn't ready for this. He tweeted out basically saying, "I asked a bunch of people, Jimmy's fine. So is this another case, John, of Rikishi just wanting attention for his boys? Because we know he has a history on his podcast talking about Jay's push and what he's doing with the Judgment Day and how pointless this is and how he deserves to be in better spots because he's getting so much love from the universe and or did not know how to use them, blah 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 blah. What do you think happened here?
Okay, well, first of all, I don't disagree about Jay. I mean, the guy's money. I think his merch outsells. I mean, we were at events. Those sunglasses, you can't find them to save your life. And we talked to people at the store, like these sunglasses, the Yeet sunglasses.
Yeet.
Like this guy is money. So yes, first of all, I agree on that point. This was weird to me. I think you posted it in our group chat, and I was like, and I was at work at the time. I was on a break, mercifully, but I'm like, what in the blue hell is happening here? Because it's so funny. I read it, and my first thought was, oh my God, if something happens to Jimmy, we lose Jay too.
We're not. Yeah, we're never gonna like nobody recovers from this. Ever.
Nobody. Those two, as close as they are, being twins, like you don't come back from that. So my first thought just went absolute cataclysmic. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And I did the same thing as you. I started doing some dives, and I'm like, there is nothing, absolute crickets on Jimmy being in any kind of danger. There was nothing. And then sure enough, little bit after little bit, like SRS, all the guys coming out going, he's fine. From what we can tell, there's nothing.
Well, let me read that text in full context, if you don't mind, John, from Sean Rustap. In following up with people in WWE, they say that they've spoken to Jimmy Uso, who says he's fine. I don't have any further context beyond that.
Okay, so we're left with one of two options. I mean, maybe Rikishi was just drunk. I don't know. Like, I don't know what motivates you to create. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know what motivates you to go pray for my son. Like, that as a father, I'd be like, if I actually tried to galvanize a social media base to pray for my son, there's going to be a reason for that, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's a weird thing to say.
And look, I'm happy you brought up the father aspect because, yes, what father would have want the best for their kids, right? Absolutely. And I'm sure, let's say 15 years from now, all right, your eldest JP is in the middle of the mid card, and you go on Twitter and say, please pray for JP. He deserves so much better, right? Or you have another podcast that's not called Ringside Heat, and you say, my son deserves better. Like, obviously, you would. Maybe you would. I don't. Sure. I thought maybe you would be like, hell yeah. Sorry, JP.
Well, it depends on how good he is.
Fair, but I get that. Okay, obviously, the father wants to see the best for their kids. That's my point. But to make it sound like he's dying is, it's a bit far. It's a bit too much. And mind you, obviously, maybe we don't know the full extent. Maybe let's play devil's advocate. Maybe Jimmy lied to the sources and be like, no, I'm okay. But maybe he is going through something. I don't know. But
no, I don't see that kind of disconnect between Jimmy and Rikishi.
I don't see it either. And I think at some point, and this is just the unfortunate environment of social media, that if something serious was happening with Jimmy, we would have heard it already. I remember hearing about Bray and the whole COVID thing and his time and recovery. Remember, we were all hearing that before his passing. We hear these things. We hear we get updates that whether as much you want to keep private, there's gonna be outs in some shape or form when it comes to medical stuff.
I mean,
right?
Medical stuff, yes. And I'm gonna go there, and I'm certainly not trying to suggest this, but the only place I would see as a father where I would desperately do that is if addiction was an issue.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
If there is something happening with Jimmy, and of course Jimmy might deny it. So if there is a dynamic there, and I don't know. I'm
You don't
not
know. Of course
I'm
not.
not saying there is. I'm just trying to find a reason from a father's perspective why you would say that and why Jimmy would deny it. The only thing I can drop in the middle of that, maybe this dude's
There's
maybe he's making some bad decisions.
something's going behind the scenes. And again, it's yes, I want to emphasize that John is not alluding to that,
No,
nor does
nope.
anybody want to ever say that and allude to that. Obviously not.
No.
We're like
Not
you
at-
have to, like your mind goes to
Pure
so many different.
speculation.
Yeah, and plus your mind, when it comes to these things, your mind, everybody overthinks. Your mind goes everywhere. Your mind presents, like, let's say 6 scenarios, maybe 10, and then you go through each door and see what possible scenario it could be. That's just a natural human way of thinking. I can't blame you for saying that. I obviously I don't think so either. But I can't blame you for saying that. I can't blame that somebody out there will legitimately think that. I know John doesn't, but
No,
there's probably, but you probably have Chris from Idaho who says that's it.
Yeah.
And damn it, Chris from Idaho, why are you saying that's it? Damn it, Chris. Stupid Chris.
No, but those, well, all I'm saying is those are the only things that would explain to me the denial of one and the desperate appeal of another. There are only a few things that connect that. Right now, none of them are probably true.
And we hope not.
And we hope they're not. But I'm just saying to fill in blanks. Otherwise, I think if you use Occam's razor, what's the simplest? Rikishi was probably just trying to throw out something to get some likes and get some attention and get some eyes on his boys.
That is where I'm leaning towards because of the comments he was making about Jay recently on his podcast. And a lot of people,
that would be the simplest slice there, is that he just made something that he knew people would talk about, and we're doing it. And we're talking about Jimmy. I would only follow up with Jimmy Uso doesn't need a lot of people to talk about him. We are waiting with bated breath for his return. No hype is needed. Just come back.
It's like waiting outside in line to get tickets to go see Letterman. We're just like, we're like, well,
we're here. Yeah, like
we're ready to go. And
I'm in.
And again, like the hype, like somehow without even any, I mean, this was the first mention of Jimmy this past week with Cody Roman at Georgia Tech in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't heard anything about Jimmy until that, right? And Paul Heyman. So
yeah,
I'm so, like I said, I'm just to go back to even tie it up to segment 2. I do think that we get that Bad Blood is going to be the setup of that War Games match. I don't know. That's still my prediction.
I will say this. I don't think Rikishi got any counsel on that tweet. And I suspect there are several people in WWE social media team who are like, man, I wish he didn't do that.
Oh, I think just anybody in general. I think even fans are saying that and be like, oh God, why did you assume? And
like that he went rogue. I really think he went rogue there.
I think he went rogue as well. I don't like saying that, but I think he went rogue too. And again, SRS did not help his case. And again, I gotta get proud. Obviously, again, that's journalism for you. When, like, if you have sources on the inside, you're gonna want to get the information. You're gonna want to kind of help back up what's been said.
I think what SRS was doing there was trying to ease the minds of the fans. I think he was trying to do the right thing there.
He did, and I think he did. But then, unfortunately, I think it also shifted to what the hell's wrong with Rikishi, because all the comments that were seen after the tweet,
that was
all the tweets I was seeing after. It's like, wait, what the hell's wrong with this guy? Which is not what you want for a guy who's so loved.
He could have framed that in a way like, gotta love Rikishi's love for some wanting him to come back. As far as we know, Jimmy's fine. I think SRS went hard. He pulled a 180 and he just threw Rikishi under the bus, and he didn't need to do that. Indirectly, he did not need to do that. He could have framed his reply in a way that did not leave Rikishi twisted in the wind, because now we're all going, well, what the hell's wrong with Rikishi?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I think he just could have done that better. And I'll be honest with you, this is one of the things. I don't know that responsible journalism is synonymous with wrestling journalism. I really don't see them as always congruous, as always
I
the
was going
same.
to say, always is the word to use there because it's
They can be. They can be.
It's true, but I mean, let's not forget SRS was saying there's no talks going on with Punk and WWE. And then everything exploded at Survivor Series last year.
These guys use their sources, and anybody behind the scenes, I've heard it from Vince Russo from his own mouth. We've all heard it. Dirt sheets or all these guys are told what the companies want them to know. That's it. So I look at an SRS and go, okay, good, you know that, but I also go like, yeah, whatever, man. Do you
that
really
also that's just any journalism. That also goes in sports, where like sports teams will sometimes their own teams will kind of like plant the seeds about rumors. Hey, we're thinking maybe should we let everybody know we want to trade this guy?
Oh, I'm sure it's not exclusive to wrestling.
It's not exclusive to wrestling, no. So
it's not exclusive to anything. It's called marketing. It's called publicity. It's called spin. It all works. You know what I mean? Like, it's whatever. So anyways, that's all, a bit tangential, but the bottom line is we're left, okay, we're told Jimmy's fine, but then I think unfortunately we're left with another cliffhanger of, well, what's going on with Rikishi if he's throwing out these pray for my son tweets when the son's saying everything's fine. To me, this is a story that I really want to see a resolution to, because it's a weird cliffhanger.
Honestly, I think we will over the next few weeks, and I will not be surprised if we talk about it on next week's episode of Ringside Heat, which is where you'll hear us next time. So that will conclude our show for tonight, because we are out of time, unfortunately. Yes, we are back next week for episode 154. Lex, we'll be back. Unfortunately, we'll be back. But don't worry, folks. I get the guest host in a couple of weeks after that. So don't worry. I will be back very, very, very soon.
At least you're not, at least you're subtle about it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Folks, this was Mr. John Dawson. You can find him on social media at John Dawson Music. And of course, Outlier is available wherever you get your music. And don't forget to buy the 180 gram vinyl and all the merch at what website, John?
musicforwalkingrecords.com.
There you go. And of course, I have been your guest host, Jose Tabuada. You can find me on social media at Tabuada93. Follow the show at Ringside_Heat. And of course, we're always available wherever you get your podcast. Oh my God, I'm starting to get to the closing. Folks, we're Ringside Heat. Support us on Patreon. We remember the things you want to forget. Take care, guys.